Paul Verhoeven is one of the most famous and innovative directors in cinema history. The director created numerous films that eventually became classics and won over many fans. Verhoeven's career took off very quickly. In just 5 years, he went from being a novice director working on the small Dutch series Floris to directing the Oscar-nominated film Turkish Delight. In the mid-1980s, Paul Verhoeven was finally noticed by Hollywood. His first major work was the historical drama Flesh+Blood, starring Rutger Hauer. Many critics and viewers regarded Verhoeven's project as a benchmark for medieval adventure films. Unlike most other movies about the Middle Ages, Verhoeven's work does not romanticize the period. Still, despite its many advantages, the film had one problem that we're going to talk about today. Before Flesh+Blood, director Paul Verhoeven and Rutger Hauer had worked on 5 projects together, and there was no sign that the new film would be their last collaboration. The budget that Orion Pictures allocated for the film was the highest in the director's career, and this had a significant impact on the production process. Paul Verhoeven was so confident in the film that he broke his own rules and decided not to storyboard it. He later admitted that this decision was one of his biggest mistakes. Because the studio gave a decent budget to a relatively unknown European director, the atmosphere on set was far from perfect from day one. At the time, Rutger Hauer was already quite a big star, known for his roles in Ridley Scott's Blade Runner and Sylvester Stallone's Nighthawks. That fact allowed him to influence the script. He frequently approached Paul Verhoeven with advice, and their relationship grew strained over time. The situation was exacerbated by the terrible weather in Spain, where the filming took place, with strong winds and the rain that kept changing into snow and hail. The conflict between the lead actor and the director quickly spread to the entire film crew. The Dutch, Spanish, and American crew and cast members also began to quarrel with each other. Actors were heavily drinking and using drugs on set. At some point, the crew started calling the film Flesh and Blood and Elbows, all because the film's actors would do everything they could to stay in the frame as much as possible. There were numerous occasions when the crew had to stop filming because some actors kept trying to get into frames they were not supposed to be in. Paul Verhoeven was furious. Rutger Hauer was adding fuel to the fire by strongly supporting the studio's idea to change the film's focus from a confrontation between 2 former allies to a romantic storyline. Originally, the movie didn't have as many explicit scenes. Instead, it focused on the rivalry between 2 characters and medieval life. Hauer and Verhoeven communicated only by swearing and yelling. Since most of the crew members couldn't understand what the 2 Dutchmen were arguing about, they insisted at one of the meetings that Hauer and Verhoeven only argue in English from then on. After the filming ended, Verhoeven and Hauer didn't speak for over a year, and they were never able to reconcile. When Paul Verhoeven started working on RoboCop, he tried to offer Rutger Hauer the role of police officer Alex Murphy, but Hauer declined, citing his busy schedule. Director Paul Verhoeven considers his filming experience with Flesh+Blood to be the worst days of his life and says that he would never want to go through something like that again. Nevertheless, Paul Verhoeven remained on good terms with Orion Pictures and worked with them again on RoboCop. After the movie, the Dutchman's career skyrocketed, and film studios flooded him with offers. As for Rutger Hauer's career, it took a downturn after Flesh+Blood. After the medieval drama, the actor starred in the disastrous Lady Hawk. Next, he failed with Wanted, Dead or Alive, The Hitcher, Blind Fury, and The Salute of the Jugger, also released as The Blood of Heroes. All of these films had relatively low budgets, so their failures wouldn't have affected the actor if the audience had responded positively. However, The Hitcher was the only project that eventually became a cult favorite. The others are only remembered by big fans. It is strange that Hauer's Golden Globe for the film Escape from Sobibor in 1988 did not help him advance his career. Perhaps the Golden Globes weren't as important back then as they are now. In the early 1990s, Hauer retreated to B-movies, only occasionally appearing somewhere in the background of bigger films. It is difficult to say what Flesh+Blood would have looked like if filming had gone as planned. Perhaps there could have been more romanticization of the Middle Ages, which Paul Verhoeven deliberately avoided, although it is unclear whether this would have benefited the film or harmed it. Thanks for watching. Subscribe and stay tuned.